Your words are not just empty sounds that disappear into the air. They are creative forces shaping your reality every single day. Most people underestimate the power that comes out of their mouths. They think their words are harmless, casual, or just a way of expressing emotion. But every word you speak is planting something. It's either planting progress or planting problems. When you open your mouth, you're either building your future or breaking it down. The truth is, your world today is a reflection of the words you spoke yesterday. If you keep saying, nothing ever works out for me, guess what? You're instructing life to make sure nothing works out for you. If you constantly say, I'm tired, I'm broke, I'm stuck, you're programming your mind and spirit to stay tired, broke, and stuck. But when you shift your speech, when you start saying, I'm growing, I'm advancing, I'm favored, I'm equipped, I'm chosen, you start commanding your life to move in that direction. You stop reacting to what you see and start creating what you want to see. There's a reason the first act of creation in the Bible began with words. God didn't build the universe with his hands. He spoke it into being. He said, let there be light, and light showed up. That wasn't just divine poetry. It was a pattern. You are made in his image, which means you carry that same creative authority through your words. When you speak, something happens in the atmosphere. You are literally setting instructions for your future. You are sending commands to your environment, your opportunities, your mindset, and even the people around you. Every declaration carries energy. Positive words are filled with power. They lift, they build, they align. Negative words are filled with poison. They tear, they limit, they block. That's why you've got to be intentional with what you say. You can't keep saying you're waiting on God if you're using your words to cancel what he's trying to build. You can't speak defeat all week and expect victory on Sunday. The power of life and death is in your tongue, and whatever you keep speaking, you will keep seeing. When you understand that your words are creating your world, you start to treat your speech like currency. You spend it wisely. You stop wasting it on gossip, complaining, or self-doubt. You start investing it in declarations of destiny. Every I am statement becomes a seed of faith. Every time you say, I'm healed, even if you still feel pain, you're building healing. Every time you say, I'm provided for, even when your bank account looks empty, you're drawing in provision. Every time you say, I'm chosen, even when you feel overlooked, you're attracting opportunities that match that confession. Most people speak from emotion instead of intention. They let frustration dictate their words and then wonder why chaos keeps repeating itself. You have to flip that. You have to discipline your mouth. Before you say it, you must ask, does this word build or does it break? Does it align me with the promise or with the problem? The language of success, faith, and power always sounds crazy at first because it's ahead of your circumstances, but that's how transformation works. You don't wait for proof to start speaking power. You speak power until it produces proof. When you realize your words create your world, you begin to understand that silence is not always golden. Sometimes it's just wasted potential. Every moment you stay silent about what you're believing for is a missed opportunity to activate faith. Your mouth is a weapon. It can destroy doubt. It can destroy fear. It can destroy limitation, and it can build faith, opportunity, favor, and breakthrough. So every single day, you need to speak as if your words are constructing your destiny, because they are. Most people lose the battle before it even begins because they let fear dominate their language. They let uncertainty dictate what comes out of their mouths. The moment life throws pressure at them, they start confessing defeat, saying things like, I don't know if I can handle this, or maybe it's not meant to be. Those are not just harmless statements. They're contracts. Every time you speak fear, you're signing an agreement with limitation. You're giving fear permission to stay. And when fear gets permission, it multiplies. It starts shaping your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, and eventually your entire life. Faith and fear both demand belief. The difference is what you choose to believe in. Fear believes in the worst possible outcome. Faith believes in divine alignment and supernatural turnaround. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, What if this is the moment everything changes? Fear keeps you where you are. Faith pushes you into where you're supposed to be. That's why you can't afford to let fear talk through you. Every word of fear weakens your faith. Every word of faith weakens your fear. You have to choose which one gets your voice. Speaking faith is not about pretending that problems don't exist. It's about refusing to give them authority. You can acknowledge the mountain, but you don't bow to it. You speak to it. When you say, this situation will turn in my favor, you're not being naive. You're activating the unseen. Faith-filled words open the door for the supernatural to move. They align your mind with possibility instead of limitation. They train your spirit to expect progress even in pressure. And that expectation pulls miracles closer. Most people speak what they see, but people of faith speak what they believe. They speak promises even when circumstances look impossible. They declare victory even when defeat seems certain. Because faith doesn't come from evidence, it creates the evidence. You don't wait for everything to line up to start speaking power. You speak power until everything lines up. That's how spiritual authority works. You speak it, you believe it, you stand on it, and life begins to adjust itself around your words. Fear is loud, but faith has to be louder. When your mind starts whispering doubt, you've got to open your mouth and declare truth. I will not fail. I will not fear. God is with me, and He's fighting for me. When you speak like that, fear starts losing its grip. Fear feeds on silence. It grows when you stop speaking. That's why you've got to flood your environment with faith talk. Even if you're shaking, keep speaking. Even if everything looks opposite to what you're saying, keep speaking. Because your words are not about describing your reality. They're about creating a new one. Faith-filled speech doesn't sound like the world's language. The world says, be realistic. Faith says, be relentless. The world says, it's too hard. Faith says, with God, all things are possible. The world says, you're not qualified. Faith says, I'm chosen for this. You have to decide whose report you're going to repeat, the world's or God's. You can't speak both. You can't mix faith with fear and expect results. You've got to speak faith like it's oxygen, consistently, boldly, unapologetically. Your words are the thermostat of your atmosphere. Fear lowers the temperature. Faith heats it up. The more you speak faith, the more energy, confidence, and clarity begin to rise inside you. You start attracting people and opportunities that match your new frequency. You stop settling for less because your words start demanding more. That's the power of speaking faith over fear. It doesn't just change what you say, it changes what you see, it changes how you move, and it changes what starts moving toward you. Discipline is what separates dreamers from doers. And when it comes to speaking power, discipline is everything. Anyone can say positive things once in a while, but it's consistency that builds authority. If you want to see your life shift, you can't just speak faith when it's convenient or when you feel inspired. You have to speak faith daily, deliberately, and without hesitation. The power of words compounds over time. One day of speaking power might feel good, but 30 days of consistent, intentional declarations will completely rewire your thinking, reshape your environment, and realign your spirit. This is not about hype. It's about habit. For 30 days, you are creating a spiritual rhythm that commands attention from heaven and focus from your own soul. Every morning when you wake up, your first words set the direction for your day. If you wake up and immediately start talking about what's wrong, you are programming your day for frustration. But if you start your morning with declaration, you are programming your day for victory. You wake up and say, I'm blessed, I'm favored, I'm focused, I'm in position for breakthrough. You say it before you see it. You say it before you feel it. You say it because your words have authority over your feelings. Discipline means you don't let your emotions decide your declarations. Some days your feelings won't match your faith, but that's fine. You're not training your feelings. You're training your future. Every time you speak, you're reinforcing a new identity, one that is rooted in power and faith instead of weakness and worry. Most people give up too soon because they don't see immediate results. They speak faith for 2 or 3 days, then slip back into doubt because nothing seems to change. But the truth is, the shift doesn't happen on the outside first. It happens inside. You are reprogramming your subconscious mind, breaking old belief systems and planting new ones. And that takes consistency. Imagine a builder laying bricks for a massive structure. 1 brick doesn't look like much. 10 bricks don't make a house. But when you keep laying brick after brick, eventually you've built something solid. That's what your declarations do. Each time you speak a word of faith, you're laying another brick in the foundation of your future. The more you build, the stronger your structure becomes. After 30 days of speaking faith-filled words, your language will no longer just be an exercise. It will become your default mode of operation. You'll start thinking in faith, acting in faith, and moving in faith because that's all your mind will know. The discipline of daily declarations also keeps your mind sharp and your focus locked. When you commit to saying something powerful every day, you eliminate the mental clutter that distracts people. You start your mornings with clarity instead of confusion. You begin to carry intentional energy instead of reactive energy. Every word you speak becomes a reminder of what you're building. That kind of focus makes you unstoppable. People will notice something different about you. Your presence, your tone, your energy, that's what happens when your words are aligned with power. It doesn't matter how busy your life is or how chaotic things get. This discipline cannot be negotiated. You can miss a meeting, but you can't miss your declarations. You can delay breakfast, but you can't delay speaking power over your day. This is not some optional spiritual exercise. This is survival for your destiny. The more consistent you are, the faster your life starts to align with what you've been speaking. And once you get momentum, nothing can stop it. Every word becomes another push forward. Every declaration becomes another door opening. Every day you speak faith, you are moving further away from limitation and closer to transformation. Most people waste the power of their words by using them to describe what's wrong instead of declaring what's possible. They spend hours talking about how bad things are, how unfair life feels, how tired they are of struggling, and then they wonder why nothing changes. When you complain, you're building a home for your problems. When you align your speech with negativity, you give it authority to stay. The moment you start speaking faith, things begin to shift because faith doesn't describe circumstances. It directs them. You've got to stop using your mouth as a microphone for misery and start using it as a megaphone for miracles. The words that come out of your mouth should reflect where you're going, not where you've been. You can't keep talking like a victim and expect to live like a victor. You can't speak defeat and expect to walk in destiny. Destiny, the language of breakthrough, always sounds like alignment. It's not about denying what you're facing. It's about deciding what you're agreeing with. You can acknowledge the storm, but don't align with it. You can admit you're in a fight, but don't give the fight more power than your faith. Every time you open your mouth, you're either agreeing with God's promise or echoing the problem. You have to choose which side you're on. Alignment means your words, your mindset, and your actions are all moving in the same direction. It means you refuse to let frustration dictate your vocabulary. It means that even when nothing looks like it's working, you still speak as if everything is already working for your good. That's not pretending, that's prophesying. That's what faith does. It speaks before the evidence shows up. The problem is that most people speak in reaction to what they see instead of in alignment with what they believe. They say, I'll believe it when I see it, but faith says, I'll see it because I believe it. That's the power of alignment. You've got to learn to catch yourself when your mouth starts to wander. The moment you feel negativity creeping in, stop and flip it. If you start to say, I'm so stressed, shift it to, I'm surrounded by peace. If you start to say, nothing ever goes right, replace it with, everything is falling into place. You have to be your own editor. Delete anything that doesn't build your future Every complaint is like a small cut on your faith, and too many cuts can drain your strength. Alignment keeps your power intact. People who are aligned don't speak based on emotion. They speak based on expectation. They talk like the outcome is already guaranteed. That kind of speech confuses fear and frustrates doubt. When you talk like a winner, the atmosphere starts responding to you differently. You begin attracting solutions instead of stress. You stop magnifying the problem and start magnifying the promise. That's when the shift begins, because alignment is not about perfection. It's about positioning. When your mouth lines up with faith, you position yourself for favor. Every time you choose declaration over complaint, you are reprogramming your spiritual frequency. You're tuning your words to the frequency of heaven. The more you align, the more divine favor begins to flow into your life. That's why you can't afford to talk carelessly. Words are not cheap. They're currency. Every word you speak buys something. Complaints buy confusion. Fear buys delay. Faith buys momentum. Gratitude buys increase. When you speak, you're spending spiritual currency, so spend it wisely. You can't expect to live a life of breakthrough while speaking the language of breakdown. Stop repeating the story of what broke you. Start declaring what's building you. Every word of alignment becomes a brick in the foundation of your next level. Keep your mouth in sync with your mission. Keep your focus on your faith. And keep your language locked on victory, because the moment your words align with what God has spoken over you, everything around you has no choice but to start aligning too. The most powerful phrase you can ever speak begins with I am. Those two words carry creative power. Whatever you attach to I am, you invite into your life. When you say I am strong, strength begins to rise within you. When you say I am favored, opportunities begin to find you. But when you say, I am tired, I am broke, I am not enough, you're not just describing how you feel, you're designing your future around limitation. Every I am statement is a seed, and your life becomes the harvest of those seeds. That's why you can't play around with what follows those words. You're either building your destiny or burying it every time you speak. Most people don't realize that their identity is being shaped by the language they repeat every day. They say things out of habit without understanding the spiritual weight behind them. When you constantly say, I'm unlucky, you're telling your spirit to attract bad breaks. When you say, I can't do this, you're teaching your mind to stop trying. Your words program your reality. They set the boundaries for what's possible in your life. The moment you start to change your declarations, you change your direction. The mouth is a mirror of belief, and the I am you choose to speak becomes the I am you live. Every great transformation begins with identity. Before you can change your circumstances, you have to change who you believe you are. You can't live a victorious life if you keep labeling yourself as defeated. You can't walk in abundance if you keep saying you're lacking. The I am statements you speak are not just affirmations, they are alignments. You are aligning yourself with a higher truth, with the image of who you were created to be. When you say, I am bold, even if you still feel fear, you're aligning with courage. When you say, I am blessed, even if your situation looks broken, you're aligning with provision. You're training your spirit to believe before it sees. The words, I am, are not just motivational. They are transformational. Every time you speak them with intention, you rewire your mind. Your brain starts looking for evidence to support what you've said. If you keep saying, I am confident, your thoughts, actions, and even body language will start to shift to match that belief. You'll notice yourself standing taller, speaking stronger, and walking with more certainty. That's not magic. That's the law of alignment in motion. You are telling your mind what to believe, and your mind is telling your reality how to respond. You have to use I am statements like a weapon. When doubt whispers that you're not enough, you respond, I am more than enough. When life tries to make you feel small, you declare, I am chosen, I am powerful, I am called. You don't wait for your feelings to agree. You lead your feelings with your words. Feelings are followers. They take orders from the mouth. If you let emotion lead, you'll speak weakness. If you let truth lead, you'll speak strength. You have to decide which one is in charge. Speaking I am statements daily builds spiritual momentum. The more you declare who you are in faith, the less room fear has to grow. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about reminding yourself of who you already are in divine design. You're not trying to become powerful. You already are. You're not chasing favor. It's already on your life. You're just speaking it into full manifestation. The I am you declare becomes the reality you attract. That's why you can't afford to speak small, think small, or act small. You've got to use your words to stretch your atmosphere. Every I am is an announcement to the universe of who you choose to be today. Speak it until it becomes second nature. Speak it until it becomes reality. Speak it until everything around you starts rising to meet the power of your declaration. When you change your words, you change your atmosphere. When your language shifts, everything connected to you starts to move. The moment you start speaking faith consistently, a new frequency begins to form around your life. People start noticing something different about you. Doors begin to open that were once locked. Opportunities that felt distant start drawing near. It's not luck, it's alignment. The power that flows through your words has started shifting the ground beneath your feet. You can't keep speaking power and stay surrounded by the same energy. Sooner or later, everything has to rise to match what you're saying. That's how faith operates. It pulls your future into your present through the force of your words. When you speak faith, you activate movement. You are sending out signals that attract possibility. The universe starts rearranging circumstances to respond to what you've declared. Heaven begins to move resources, people, and time into line up with your confession. You're not just talking, you're commanding, you're creating an atmosphere that makes progress inevitable. When you speak fear, everything contracts. When you speak faith, everything expands. It's like oxygen for your destiny. The more you speak faith, the stronger your inner atmosphere becomes. Suddenly, situations that used to intimidate you no longer have power. Challenges that once drained you start to motivate you because you understand the principle. Now, whatever you speak long enough, you start to see faith-filled words also change your mindset. You begin to notice that negativity no longer feels comfortable. You start catching yourself before you complain. You feel the power that comes from declaring truth instead of rehearsing defeat. That's the moment you know the shift is happening inside you. When the inner shift begins, the outer world has no choice but to adjust. Faith transforms you from the inside out. You become bold where you used to hesitate. You become calm where you used to panic. You begin to carry a peace that makes no sense, and that peace draws in more good than fear ever could. The more you speak faith, the more your energy becomes magnetic to the miraculous. The shift doesn't just happen in your mindset, it happens in your relationships. People who thrive on negativity will start to distance themselves, not because you push them away, but because your energy no longer matches theirs. At the same time, new connections will appear. People who speak the same language of faith, people who push you higher, who remind you of the vision when you forget. That's how divine alignment works. Your words are not just building your world, they are building your circle. The company you attract is a reflection of the language you speak. When you talk faith, you attract builders. When you talk fear, you attract doubters. That's why it's so important to keep your speech aligned with power. When the shift begins, don't be surprised if life starts moving fast. Doors will open, but they'll require courage. Blessings will come, but they'll require stewardship. Opportunities will appear that test your readiness. That's why the words you've been speaking matter. They've been preparing you for what's on the way. You've been conditioning your spirit for the increase. Every declaration of faith has been stretching your capacity to handle what's next. The shift isn't random. It's a response to your words. You have literally been building this moment one sentence at a time. This is the reward of speaking power daily momentum. Once it starts, it's hard to stop. The more you see the results, the stronger your belief becomes. The stronger your belief becomes, the more powerful your words grow. It's a cycle of expansion, a chain reaction of faith and manifestation. Your life begins to look like the language you've been speaking. Everything around you starts aligning with what's been coming out of your mouth. That's what happens when you expect the shift. Your world listens.